Hi, and welcome back to another episode of the podcast. Apologies, it still has no name. Inspiration has not sparked within me, sadly, but I am asking guests about the name, and I might have this today, on this day when I'm recording this episode, a potential name, but we'll see how it goes. Anyways, I'm Ryan, the host of this podcast, and we are going to explore and unpack the nuances of the identity, culture, and heritage of the UK Asian experience from a Gen Z perspective. Today, I'm happily joined by Arabella. Could you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Arabella. I'm a third year film and television studies student at the University of Warwick right now.
Awesome. Soon to be graduating.
Scary stuff, scary times, yeah.
It is. I mean, have you got graduation stuff sorted out?
Trigger warning that, please, Ryan, if we are talking about anything to do with post-graduation.
Have you got at least an outfit?
An outfit for graduation? Yeah, maybe. I mean, in theory. Not in practice.
Not in practice.
No. But I mean, like, the future's a wonderful thing.
True. I mean, I have flatmates and also relatives and friends who have graduated and stuff, and it's been quite interesting to look at kind of more of the cultural wear and stuff. So I wanted to ask you if you're going to wear any,
that is an interesting
cultural stuff.
Yeah, no. I mean, Filipino attire isn't too like you don't bring it out too much, I don't think, these days, actually.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't worn one in years. Like, they're like these dresses that are like very, very like puffy sleeves and like kind of like up like quite high in your neck. No, I've never really. I was just gonna get something off ASOS. Sorry,
That's
but
fair
I
enough.
mean,
England.
a good consideration. A good consideration.
Yeah, I recently just got clowned on by my flatmates, and they asked me, "Oh, are you gonna wear any cultural wear, Ryan?" I'm like, "Not really.
No.
I've just got a tailored suit. It looks good on me, so I'm just gonna wear that." You know, it's like.
I mean, fair enough. Each their own. Like.
Yeah, my dad was like, when I brought this conversation up, my dad was like, "Yeah, you're not liberal enough to do that sort of thing."
Wow.
He's like, "Just be British, like don't
out.
don't like wear this like cultural wear stuff. Like you're not like just."
No, you
be
know what
traditional.
I am doing though. Me and my dad are looking at like those ribbons that you have on your robe.
Yeah.
Like we're looking at ones that have like the Filipino flag on it.
That'd be sick.
Isn't that so cool?
That'd be cool.
That would be pretty cool to just like have on. I think that's gonna be my approach to it. Less like the attire, more like pretty bold statement of just like having the flag on me somehow. Pinoy pride.
Pinoy pride. Just massive flag on the stage, you know. But anyways, going back to the format of the podcast, I was supposed to ask you more of an introductory question revolving around food. And today your question is your favorite memory associated with food.
My favorite memory associated with food. I think growing up, I went to a lot of Filipino hall parties, and the one staple at any Filipino hall party or any big Filipino gathering or party you would know is lechon, which is this literal full-sized pig on the table that has just been like roasted, like head to toe, poor thing, and kind of just like out and bronzed for the world. But every time I saw that lechon, it was less about the food and more kind of about like, oh, this, like there are a lot of people at this thing. Like there are going to be a lot of people. Like I'm going to see all of like my titas and my titos here. Like it was more kind of just like even the communal aspect of it as well, of everyone kind of just like, it's not divided into single portions. It's kind of like a help yourself type thing. And I think that's really like, I don't know. I think it's a good symbol of just like the communal eating like traditions in the Philippines, because you have things like boodle fight, which is where you have kind of like leaves on the table and everyone's kind of like each like getting their own kind of like things and you're sharing things, and yeah, it's just like that. I think it's a good symbol of just like that sense of like community for me. I think that's like probably like my favorite memory, and even up till now, I went to like what was it? A birthday the other day, and it was a Filipino gathering, and there was just a lechon on the table. I was like, oh my god, I haven't seen this guy in a while. Like it's been a while, but always a good character cameo, like Avengers Endgame reunion every time I see a lechon, like genuinely.
Okay.
Like I love it. Like it's so celebratory and it's so I think it just recalls like really like fond memories from my childhood, I think.
Very good, very good. I feel like we've hinted on where you're actually from, but again, a loaded question.
Have we? Surely not.
But yeah, could you elaborate a little bit more about where you quote unquote actually are from?
Yeah, of course. So my mum and dad are both from Philippines. They came from Philippines to England in 2002/2001. And I grew up in a small town in Essex, a lovely, lovely little town called Basildon in Essex. Shout out Bas Vegas. I grew up in an Essex town, but with a very strong, I think, Filipino community. My mum is actually half Chinese. She grew up in a Chinese province in the Philippines, funnily enough. But I would say that I definitely, I identify as Filipino.
Yeah,
like,
obviously.
the Pinoy pride, it's there, she's there. Did I tell you, actually, if... do you know the whole Pope fiasco that was going on?
Oh, yeah.
If the Pope was going to be Filipino, I was running down the street telling everyone that I was going to get a tattoo of the Pope, on my body.
Well,
if the Pope turned out to be the Filipino guy.
Okay, again, this is news post kind of the conclave, the current,
Yes.
the real conclave, right? Okay,
Yes.
just for context for the listener, this is a couple weeks, this is what, the 29th of May? So it is 3 or 4 weeks away from the real conclave where there was just, everyone was voting for a new Pope. Interestingly enough, there was a Pinoy Pope in the nominations.
Yeah. Well, he wasn't the Pope, he was the Pinoy... whatever.
Cardinal. He was a cardinal, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's the word.
He was nominated to be the next pope, right?
Yeah,
Which I thought was crazy. I was like,
he
whoa.
was quite a big runner-up as well. He had loads of people rooting for him.
Oh, damn. Okay.
Especially on every post I saw, he was at the forefront of it.
Yeah, Pinoy pride, obviously.
I was prepared, Ryan. As in, I had a tattooist on speed dial. I was watching the conclave live.
Okay.
I was like, if the Pope walks out right now and it looks like an unk, a Tito, bruh, I will get him tattooed on my body right now.
One, what was the tattoo going to look like? 2, where was it going to be?
I don't know what it was going to look like.
You can't just have his face on your shoulder.
Well,
bro.
no, I was going to have, I don't know how I was going to do it. I was going to put it on somehow. I was going to be on my arm, a proper just on my bicep. Yeah.
He gets bigger,
He gets bigger as I flex. Yeah, exactly. I was genuinely going to do that. And then at that point I was like, I am definitely Filipino, bruh. I was like, yeah. Bruh, I am rooting for this guy so hard right now. Oh my god!
That's low-key funny.
Everything's on the line. People thought I was joking. Ryan, I'm serious. I had a tattooist on speed dial. Yeah.
That's insane, bro.
Yeah, and I was gonna get it the day of.
Whoa, bro.
Yeah. I was I was committed. I was this is 100% gonna be my first tattoo. Obviously, he didn't win.
Sadly.
American guy from O Block Chicago came out instead.
Okay.
Big surprise.
Yeah.
But he walked out and I was like, oh.
Not the disappointment. I mean, I saw loads of memes online on social media of if the Filipino Pope won, it'd be there'd be a karaoke ceremony. Again, not stereotyping. However, God, the Filipinos love karaoke.
The Filipinos love their karaoke. Name me a Filipino that doesn't have a karaoke machine. Quick.
I'm just saying, not stereotyping, not assuming. Okay, I'm not assuming.
Well, there is truth there. As a Filipino, there is truth there. I mean, my family has a karaoke machine, and none of us have the singing gene. None of us have the Filipino singing gene.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we still have a karaoke machine.
They still have a karaoke machine.
Because it's it's as essential as a washing machine.
Okay, obviously, yes.
Come on now.
You go to Costco, you get your fridge, your washing machine, and your karaoke machine.
All the essentials.
Anyways, bringing it back to the podcast, I guess. I mean, I don't know, we've been friends for a while. We've known each other for quite a while, actually.
We have known each other, since first year.
Since first year, yeah, exactly.
Yes,
we have known each other for quite a while, so it's great to kind of hear from you again.
Goodness.
Great to catch up with you. But I think a question building on kind of all the Pope stuff and stuff like that. I haven't really asked you kind of your relationship with Christianity, because I know that the Philippines is very Catholic.
Very much so.
And like, it would be quite interesting because I haven't actually asked you to elaborate kind of your relationship with like Catholicism.
Yeah. Interesting question, Ryan. We're just going straight in here. But no, yeah, Philippines is extremely Catholic. I think I saw a stat and it was like literally 95% of like the Philippines is Catholic. Not my words, by the way, that could be completely wrong. However,
Again, someone smarter, a better researcher is out there and
Yes.
can tell you true information.
yes, but
Factual information.
I mean, like,
But like, it is quite. It is quite Catholic.
all to say, it's very predominantly Catholic,
Yeah.
and I think, growing up, I have had my first communion. I have been confirmed. I've gone through all the rituals. I go to mass every Sunday when I'm back home.
Aw.
Yeah, and my dad's side of the family is very Catholic. They're the ones that are leading the church back in Philippines. Like they're like leading this is the moment that I realized, oh, like we are super Catholic. I went back to Philippines, I think when I was about 12, before secondary school started, and we went to mass and I was half asleep because I was still jet lagged. And then I just remember opening my eyes and it was my grandma on stage that was leading the mass. And I thought I was hallucinating, and I was literally just like, what the hell is grandma doing, bruh? But not only was my grandma on stage, my great aunts, who were identical twins, by the way, were also on stage leading the church. Like, it was like my entire like dad's side of the family was just, like, this was a pretty big church, by the way, in the Philippines, like, and they were leading it, like. And so my dad grew up pretty Catholic because of that, obviously, and my mum's pretty Catholic. She's been on like pilgrimages and stuff. Yeah, you never would have thought. You never would have thought.
Yeah.
You never would have thought.
Yeah, that's insane law.
It is quite insane law. And I forget that, like, not that this isn't common, or like this isn't common knowledge, but yeah, no, I am quite Catholic. Like, I grew up with quite Catholic customs, but I think obviously growing up, my relationship with Catholicism has been not necessarily rocky, but more kind of, I would say the word is like confusing. I've kind of like, it's kind of gone from like both extremes of like completely denying it. Like when I was in like sixth form and like depressed, I was obviously kind of just like very almost against it. Then there was a moment where I went kind of back into it, and I called it my Reformabella arc. I called it my Reformabella arc. Not to do with Reform UK. Completely
I love how you're just dropping that in.
Just in case. That's the Essex in me, just in case. But I had a little Reformabella arc where I went kind of back to Catholicism, and I was reading the Bible, and I was like doing all these things, and then obviously kind of like that intersected with obviously my political beliefs, which is very left-leaning, and also kind of like, it's a very interesting road to lead when, with religion, especially when you're a Catholic. And I think like everyone looking back, when Pope Francis dies, R.I.P., looking back at how he was in such solidarity with marginalized groups, everyone was kind of like, oh, like this isn't a Catholicism that I'm used to, or that he was very like, like against like all wars and stuff like this. Just like, it's a really like, I think especially right now, religion is becoming so extremely exploited by political leaders. Like, you're seeing Trump do all these like mega churches where they're praying for like gazillion dollars and like, I don't know, like infinite Uber drivers or something. Like, we're living in a really like Black Mirror weird time for religion, I think.
All the bells and whistles, the sparks and like the stunts.
It's getting a bit crazy, let's say. Yeah. But no, it's really interesting because I think, from honing back to how it relates to my confusion with religion, from a Filipino perspective, the reason why I was so confused about it is because Philippines, in Southeast Asia anyway, it's the longest colonized country. It didn't even have a chance to kind of set up its own foundational political system. It was all over the place. Everyone was like different islands. And it also didn't have a chance to actually have a foundational kind of language established across these islands. And so when we were colonized by the Spaniards, in whatever the hell that was, how many millennia that was, And it was for like a while. It was for like 300 years, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, what came with that was this aspect of Catholicism. And so even looking back at indigenous Filipino culture, it's a very tricky road to lead, especially when I was young, and especially when I was just finding out that, oh, like my ancestors, I don't know if my ancestors were like forced this religion that I am now like choosing to follow. And it was a very confusing time. And I think that kind of curiosity is something that a lot of Filipinos have. Every time I've talked to my Filipino friends about it, especially during this age when we're all getting a bit more kind of like knowledgeable about the world, knowledgeable about culture, and wanting to go back to our roots. I've talked to loads of people about indigenous Filipino culture and how it's almost a lost part of history. And there's not a lot about it at all. You can try find books about it. It's kind of like books on Amazon that's written by like someone's aunt or something. Just like there are no. It's like very, I think, under-researched area, and it's really interesting when it comes into play with kind of like everything that we are. Like Tagalog is very kind of like Spanish influenced. There are loads of Spanish words in Tagalog that you can probably pick up.
I think the days of the week are very similar to the Spanish days of the week.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's one example.
Yeah. And like, I mean, I still like barely pass Spanish in GCSE. However, there is definitely still a link there. And it's just really interesting kind of like having such a close connection to your culture, but then realizing that this culture, not necessarily is fraudulent, but it's more so a product of, I guess, colonialism and the sense of like lost indigenous culture is something that I think isn't really like, it is what I think anyways, makes Philippines a very kind of unique nationality to have and a very unique history to look into as well. Yeah.
You brought up kind of like losing a little bit, being confused about being Catholic and stuff like that. And it just kind of and like refuting it as well. And it kind of reminded me of kind of like a very conventional experience that a lot of UK Asians go through, where they do kind of refute their culture and their ethnicity. But it's interesting how it's like it was religion for you. So I wanted to like link it into kind of like Pinoy pride, I guess, and how like did you ever kind of question Pinoy pride? Like did you ever kind of refute kind of your Filipino heritage, I guess?
How you mean? Like,
so like for the conventional UK experience, right? I'll use my sister for example. When she was growing up in like primary school, high school, even high school to an extent, very much surrounded by white families, white communities and stuff like that. We were very much isolated. We were very much like the only Asian face within our kind of like neighborhood essentially. And like being surrounded by a lot of white people doing like hobbies and sports and kind of like extracurricular stuff where it's majority like white faces and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You kind of get this like, you're always othered. So it makes you want to be more like, I don't know, a little bit more like, you just want to be perceived like as the same as other people.
Like
you don't
the
want
majority.
to be the majority, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to ever, you always feel like you're the minority, right?
Yeah.
Which probably influences a lot of people to kind of like refute their Asianness, right? So like a lot of like Chinese or maybe a lot of just UK, British-born Asian kids, right, will probably kind of refute their ethnicity. So maybe they'll kind of like, I don't know, hang around, like they'll resist kind of their parents' kind of like work ethic, for example. So like they're not good students, for example, because they don't want to be associated.
Kind of like rebelling
against like the
stereotypes,
the stereotypes, right?
Yeah.
Or they're like, oh, I'm just going to eat white food for now. Because I don't want to be like told that my food is smelly or something like that. Or it's like, oh, I'm not going to tell my friends about my parents' like occupation. Because like, being a takeaway kid, it's like, oh, can you hook me up with like fried rice or something like that? Or it's like, can you hook me up with like this, that, and the other?
I never even thought of that.
Or do you have like takeaway food every day? Like that's a very common question asked to like takeaway kids like myself. You know, like it's like, oh, do you have black bean? Like it might be coming out of like a sense of curiosity and like a sense of like
this is you're the first takeaway kid I've met. Type thing. Yeah.
You're the first takeaway kid I've met. So like this, like it's a genuine question, but like. When you keep getting asked that, it's like it just reinforces that you're other, you're the minority. Definitely. So that's definitely influences kind of this refusal, this refuting of kind of your cultural heritage, right?
Yeah.
So like, is there an equivalent of that in like Filipino culture? Because it seems like you guys are so kind of collected. Like you guys are so prideful of being Filipino.
This is the thing, like, I mean, we've said in our conversation before about how most Filipinos, to my knowledge anyways, but I'm pretty sure it is, most Filipinos come to the UK, and that is through the NHS, which is why you have the stereotype of like the Filipino nurse. Everyone like just knows a Filipino nurse.
Yeah.
Like every time I tell someone I'm Filipino, they're like, oh, my dad's nurse was Filipino.
Yeah.
I was I'm like, no kidding. What the heck?
Crazy.
That's unique. But yeah, so for anyone that doesn't know, for context, the NHS usually like recruits nurses from overseas. So it's typically, I'm pretty sure India is a big one as well, and Philippines is obviously a big one too. And in my town anyways, in good old Basildon Hospital, they recruited from Philippines, and they recruited in batches. So loads of young Filipinos, I think they were mostly in their 20s, early 30s. They came from Philippines straight into the amazing sunny side of Essex, and they started working for the hospital. And because they came in batches, these big groups, it resulted in these very strong Filipino communities kind of being built in towns that you wouldn't really think anyone would even be Asian, let alone Filipino, you know? And when my mum and dad talk about this time of just like new experiences where everyone was coming in, because for my parents anyways, it was my mum that came into England, and then my dad followed suit because they were engaged. And that's the same thing for a lot of Filipino couples, I think, when they come here. But yeah, the early days of being a British Filipino was that everyone worked at the hospital. My dad's not even a nurse. My dad worked at the like dry cleaning, washing services at the hospitals. He was washing just like the bed sheets and stuff like that. And he did that with his two like best friends that he has now, that are also Filipino. And yeah, just like my mum lived in a flat full of 8 other Filipino girls, and it was in like a council estate in Basildon. It was really funny. It's like dead center in the town center as well. Just like it's this big building that's in the middle of the town center. Very random, but yeah, like they all kind of helped each other up, and now everyone has their own families, everyone has mortgages, you know. Just like, I'm a result of that, like my friends are a result of that. It was a very it was a very communal time. I think it's a very bonding time when you come to a new country. And Philippines is very lucky because we follow the American education system. So 9 times out of 10, you go to Philippines, you go to a pretty okay area, and most people there will have like a basic understanding of English. So they came here, obviously like not the best English, they all still have their accents and whatnot, and obviously culture shock and all of that. So there were hardships, but they all had each other, which was like a really nice thing. And so I grew up with a very like, that's all to say, I grew up with a very strong sense of Filipino community, which I'm very thankful for. Even though I'm not fluent in Tagalog at all, I still had that sense of community, which was really nice. And so it's really interesting when I look back to primary school. You see in films right now, this a lot of Asian filmmakers, big ups, are like talking about just like their experiences growing up as like a first gen, second gen. You know, Asian person, mostly in America, mostly Asian Americans, AAPI. But yeah, like you had Dee come out. I think this one film that I watched called Rice Boy Sleeps came out, which was great. And a lot of the time it's about an Asian child kind of trying to find their way in a predominantly white neighborhood, predominantly white town, while their parents are kind of like known to have this work ethic and known to be working very like not the best paying jobs, you know. And it's really interesting because there's this obvious archetype about the smelly lunchbox, like quote unquote trademark that smelly lunchbox of just like the Asian kid bringing it in. But funnily enough, I never really, like to my memory anyways, I never really had any moment of that. In primary school, I was a very loud kid. I didn't even think like for any, like in a school setting anyways, I don't really think that me being Filipino or me being Asian in any sense kind of like was a conscious thing for me. It was more outside of the school system when I was out with my family that it was a very, very, very like big thing for me to notice. So me and Ryan were talking earlier about how just like even in pub adjacent restaurants and establishments like Carvery and Harvester, which I both loved the food of, unfortunately. Growing up, when me and my families would go there, obviously there would be, it would be like kind of pub style restaurants, and it wasn't really somewhere where I felt welcome, and I always felt out of place, and it was this like overwhelming sense of we are so like, everyone is looking at us right now. Like we are so like distinguishable right now. It's so very clear that we're not meant to be here. And it's like, never once did my parents ever give me that kind of like projects that onto me in any sense at all. My parents are like absolutely like proud to be Filipino. I'm absolutely proud to be Filipino. But I think growing up when you're still kind of getting to cogs with, oh, I'm part of like the world is bigger than me, essentially. The world is bigger than like my house, my home, my family. It's a scary thing, I think, when you come to that realization of it's almost like my race is like a marker to invite kind of hate. And it's a really unfortunate thing to realize, especially in your teens. And I think you can make as many archetypes as you want, but I think that internal realization of like my race can make me a marker for hate, can make me a marker for just like a targeted like victim in that sense. Like it's a really like hard thing to come to terms with in your preteens. And I think that this is me going into like film now, but I think that like almost listening that into a single shallow archetype of like the smelly lunchbox is a bit redundant. However, I do understand and I do sympathize with it. But no smelly lunchboxes for me. I just love BLTs. I love BLT sandwiches. Like, it wasn't even like I was ashamed of being Filipino. I just loved bacon. Like, like, you know, just like, this is what I mean. Just like, not everything when you're an Asian kid has to be like that deeply ingrained into like your race or anything. Just like, it isn't like I grew up with so much joy and so much fun, and I'm very, very happy and grateful that I grew up in like such a loving environment, you know, just like, I think that there are many times in films when we talk about kind of like marginalized people, we talk about like, we don't talk about the joy, like the immense joy that there is in being like British Asian and being like Filipino and being part of like a community. Like we're always talking about kind of like this very small things that, we all have, but that's not really us. Like we shouldn't really be defined by that. And I think even though just like, I love like all stories about, you know, Black people and Indigenous people and Filipino people and Asian people that are coming out right now. Just like, I do really have hope that this is going to evolve into just like I want to see like a freaking like Filipino superhero villain. Like I want to see just
sick.
Like, do you know what I mean? Just like, I want to see like a Filipino, like I just saw Sinners, so I want to see like a Filipino vampire. Just like, there are so many different contexts
Sinners,
to which
bro.
like, don't even get me started.
Don't even get me started, bro. Sinners. Oh my God, bro.
Incredible. If you haven't watched Sinners, get onto it now immediately.
It's the 29th of May. Again, reiterating the date.
Yes.
And the day of when we're recording this podcast. Sinners is probably going to be gone once this is edited. So, like, get on it.
Get on it somehow, some way. Get the DVD, get the Blu-ray.
Something. Just go watch it.
Go
experience
watch it.
If you can manage to get into a cinema, please watch it in the cinema.
I'm actually on my knees begging you, please.
Like, you will love, well, I feel like our generation is definitely going to love everything that is what makes Sinners, you know what I mean?
100%.
But anyway, sorry. Okay, Sinners shout out.
Detour. little Sinners shout out there.
Sorry.
Little marketing there for Sinners. But yeah, that's what I mean. Just like, and I think that it's interesting. Actually, now that we brought up Sinners, it's interesting because I think that Asian cinema is like, I think if you look at the trends, like it's like on the rise, like art house Asian cinema.
Definitely.
It started with Parasite. It started with Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yep.
Like now you had like Didi come out. Now you're getting just like, I think in the Emmys, it was a Chinese show that like like scooped
Sweat?
every award.
What, like Shogun, do you mean?
I think it was Shogun.
Yeah,
yes,
the
yes,
Japanese,
yes, yes,
yeah,
yeah,
Shogun,
exactly.
Shogun. Oh,
Just like
Shogun, bro. Oh.
I also haven't watched that, you know.
Bro,
actually.
get on it. It's like political drama, but set in Japan.
I should.
It's so good, honestly.
It looks
if you're
amazing.
a weeb, you watch anime.
I know. I'm sorry. Well, I know I'm retired. I'm a retired
You're
weeb.
a retired
Sorry.
weeb. But hey, you can still appreciate it.
Real.
It's live action. It's not even animated, bro.
Yeah,
so it's not even
I
anime.
know.
So it's just all based on medieval Japanese culture.
I really should get onto that. But this is what I mean. Just like Asian media is coming like into the forefront of mainstream media, and it's having a moment.
Yes.
And sure, it's always been in Hollywood somehow, some way or another. But it's like really having a moment for original, unique stories, I think. And I think if you see that and how that's on the rise, I think if you now look at black cinema and black filmmakers and the films that they're coming out with, just like Jordan Peele films, just like putting black people in like horror films where they're not only just like the stereotypical first person to die, they're not a side character, they are at the forefront, race is at the forefront, same with Sinners, race is at the forefront, but it's explored through a supernatural lens or through like such a different lens to the point that it's so like powerfully resonant with real life. And I think that slowly, I hope and I know that Asian cinema is going to evolve to that point where we kind of evolve out of this like almost victimization representations of ourselves, and we look into like essentially just the cool fucking ways that we can be like presented like in films, like in so many different contexts as well.
I have a TV show that I'm currently watching. I'm currently following. It came out, like, I think earlier this year, maybe last year. But it's called Interior Chinatown. I don't know if you've like heard of it.
I've never heard of that.
But it's got what's his name? I can't remember his name. But anyways, Interior Chinatown. The whole concept is that it's based on this character who works at this Chinese restaurant in America. It's very much based on the kind of American Chinese experience, right? But essentially, it's based on it revolves around this kind of like 60s cop thriller kind of like vibe.
Oh, I love
but,
that.
Like the way that they separate like the genre, where like the Chinese boy character, kind of like restaurant waiter, he's very much like outcasted from it. So like the policemen come in and like the lighting changes, the aspect ratio changes into like a box TV.
Oh.
And like it goes all like film like vibes, like very 60s cop thriller, but the cops can't even see the waiter because he's like so outside of their world essentially, and like he like tries to bridge this gap together, and it's really interesting how they try and incorporate kind of like old kind of like kung fu style like 80s vibes with this cop kind of thriller kind of thing, and it's I think it's 80s cop. Anyways, it is like a cop thriller. You'll get the drift. Again, my history is getting lost here now.
No,
anyways,
I agree. Like John Woo, like
John Woo kind of esque kind of thing, right?
I get you, yeah.
And like, yeah, this kind of intersection between kind of this lunchbox kind of like vibe, this lunchbox archetype with this like really interesting, like, oh, we're putting a kind of Asian way. Oh, the way that he gets into like the cop world, essentially this like kind of police world. He's a delivery boy driver. He's like, oh, I'm here to deliver food, and then that's how he gets inside of like the precinct, and then starts like doing his like detective work and stuff.
I see.
Like he aspires to be a detective, but he's like moping around, being like, oh, I'm only gonna be just this Chinese boy waiter, essentially. Yeah. Bro, I feel like you should give it a watch because it is kind of a little love letter to like old film, like 80s kind of film, like archetypes and like techniques and stuff like that. But anyways, that's my shout out to Interior Chinatown.
I will put that on my list, and I will be watching that.
But again,
sounds very cool.
Building on your point, I think we are in this transitional phase where I think a lot of Asian creatives are starting to be like, oh no, okay, we're gonna start linking it and putting things at the forefront, the experience at the forefront.
Yes.
But making it not like, oh, mopey, you know what I mean?
Mopey and kind of like
we're the victims.
Minari's another one. Like Minari was a beautiful film.
Was beautiful, yeah.
But I mean, just like that was just another film that came to mind, just to show just like the amount of Asian filmmakers that we're getting right now, and it's really, really like cool, and I'm very excited for the future.
New horizons, you know.
New horizons, man, and like even Asian storytelling in general, just like it's getting out there. I think this is actually stemming from a review that I read about Ocean Vuong.
Ocean Vuong? Vuong. Okay, yeah. I've searched them up.
Yes.
American poet and essayist.
Yes. I saw a review I'm actually going to get it up. Give me just 2 seconds because I do think it's worth it.
So, for context for the listeners, and for myself even, Ocean Vuong is a Vietnamese-American poet, essayist, and novelist. He is a recipient of the 2014 Ruth Lilly and Dorothy Sargent Rosenberg Poetry Fellowship from the Poetry Foundation 2016 Whiting Award. Wow, that was a very long title. And the 2017 T.S. Eliot Prize. His debut novel, On Earth, We're Briefly Gorgeous, was published in 2019. That was cited from Wikipedia. Don't at me, okay? Don't come for me.
Okay, I found it. So... the review was from Andrea Long Chu.
Okay.
And her review was actually very positive of Ocean Vuong's work, but she said she does pinpoint how there is a this is quoted from a literal tweet, by the way. There's a performance of many diasporic writers who get away with talking about their homeland, mother language, and ancestors like magical primitives because a white audience doesn't know any better.
Ooh.
So it's almost kind of like this internalized sense of alienation.
Yeah.
And this very almost obsessive focus on our quote unquote indigenous culture to the point that we're almost like white colonists.
Mm-hmm.
Nope. White colonizers.
Yeah.
So we're almost taking the perspective of white colonizers, looking at our own language, looking at our own homeland as this very foreign, alien, magical, primitive thing. And it's just really interesting about how kind of like, I guess in the same vein, talking about how a lot of Asian films tend to focus on like the downsides or just like not fitting in or not being Asian enough, not being white enough, this whole very conventional dilemma you have. And it's almost kind of like it's being stressed just too much. It's at the forefront too much, I think. And the experience is so much more nuanced than that and so much more original that we need to kind of like, we need to stop kind of pandering our own diasporic Asian experiences for the palette of white audiences who only know about us being othered, as opposed to us being celebrated, I think.
Yes.
And I think it's just a great thing. Like, film is such an incredible medium because it's literally infinite. Like, you can do anything with film. You can think, film, I think, is the only medium where you can genuinely think and you can, like, genuinely like make it into a visual, tangible, like sensory experience, like to any extent. You can do something in space, you can do something in the ocean, you could do something just like in hell, in the 50s, in the future, in the past, in the present, in a different present. You know, just like it's literally endless. So my question is, why aren't we like bloody utilizing that? And why are we just focusing on some guy who we all flipping know because we all bloody went through it? Just like when I see the archetype, this is a bit of a rant now, but when I see the archetype of the Asian kid in the classroom who's being picked on, who has the smelly lunchbox, I'm just like, who is your audience? Because if it's an Asian audience, been there, done that. We know about this, bruh. Like, we know about this. This is like someone like making a scene about just like how to use a toilet. But to digress, I think that you need to understand that the Asian experience is a lot more nuanced and we should make it less palatable to just white people who are trying to see how we are alienated and othered as opposed to celebrated.
Damn. Crazy how I have to follow up with that, and crazy how I have to round out the podcast episode for today. Thank you so much for coming, Arabella. This has been such a really interesting conversation.
It has been an honor. So many avenues,
so much insight into just a different perspective. Again, nuance. That's the purpose of this. It's all it is. That's all it is. Everyone is unique. Everyone has their own original experience, right?
Yes.
Which I so want to tap into.
Yes.
But again, thank you for coming in today.
Thank you for talking to me.
Thank you for any of the listeners out there for listening. And we shall see you in the next episode. See you later.
Bye-bye.